This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
What's going on, everybody? John Zannis, Greg Bedard here. We're kicking off our Patriots post-game coverage. We're going to get Taylor Kyles and Mike Kadlick joining us in just a little bit as the Patriots improve to 11-2 heading into the bye. Greg, who would have thunk it, with a 33-15 victory over the New York Giants at Gillette Stadium. Real quick, we want to let you know this show, as always, is brought to you by our pals over at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code CLNS. Get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineups. And yeah, we're sneaking one more in for Omaha Steaks. I think you've got 1 day left to get this in here. OmahaSteaks.com, 50% off site-wide sale. Patriots at checkout get $35 off your order. Greg, let's start off with this one. Right out of the gate, this game, a lot of people, I think yourself included, some people had this as a possible loss. Some people thought this would be sneaky competitive. Patriots it's a long way to go without having a bye, to wait this long. Tired, maybe starting to kind of, injuries starting to mount up. This felt like a game where maybe things could get away from them. And almost right out of the gate, it was so clear how ready they were to play. Like, again, I don't know what it was like there. You could, on the television at home, you could hear the hits. And it's not just the big ones from Christian Ellis when he smacks Jackson Dart and then Gunnar Olszewski. Just the whole way, you could see the Patriots came out with like urgency, purpose, and physicality in this game, it felt like.
Yeah, it was really unbelievable, John. I don't know what Mike Vrabel said to these guys, and he didn't really reveal when he was asked about it in the post-game press conference. But it was obvious there was some sort of motivation this week because look, it's not to say that last week against Cincinnati they were, bad or anything like that, but this was just a different level of urgency, energy, physicality. It was really unbelievable, and a credit to the coaches and also the players. Going into this, they didn't really talk about it on the telecast. No one's really talked about it, but the Giants also, they're going into their bye week as well. And you just wondered, would this be a case of at least one of these teams sort of like, looking ahead to Cancun or being someplace warm, and you didn't know which way it was going to go. You thought the Patriots last week against Cincinnati looked like they were on fumes a bit, dealing with the obvious injury issues up front on the offensive line. The Giants have been, on film, they've been playing well with energy. They've been, they've had leads, they've blown leads, but they've been in just about every game for the last month. But this was completely different. The Patriots just came out on a mission. They took it to the Giants. I think the combination of Ellis's hit, Marcus Jones's punt return, sort of brought an energy to the stadium and also to the team that just set them up for utter domination. And I know the Giants got within 2 scores, but really once it was 30-7 at halftime, this thing was over.
Yeah, and again, it's really almost hard to look at. I mean, we can nitpick some things that you saw in the second half, annoyingly close, allowing it to be a 2-score game there, not, going for that kill shot. But really, everything happened there in the first half, and so much of it had to do with the overall preparedness of the Patriots, and then just Giants' ineptitude and a bunch of confusing. What's going on behind you guys? Oh, sorry. I'm hearing a lot of sound kicking up. Giants' ineptitude, not going for it on 4th down, giving the Patriots the ball back. But and you wrote about it, Greg. But a certain turning point there, that weird field goal situation that I still don't understand what happened. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I mean, that's like my golf game. Like, I mean, to come up that short of the ball as he did there at 17-7, the Patriots turn it around, and Maye throws one of his, a patented deep ball to Kyle Williams. There goes 24-7, and the game was pretty much over at that point. But just assessing, you look at Drake Maye overall. Again, he falls short of that 300-yard game, which is amazing that he leads the league in passing without a single 300-yard game. But 202 or whatever it was yards in that first half, wildly efficient, didn't put the ball in harm's way, was smart, good job manipulating the pocket. Just talk about his overall performance tonight.
Yeah, I thought it was outstanding again. I mean, every time you look at this kid, you're like, all right, well, maybe, he probably didn't play, great against the Bengals. Actually,
Right.
he did have a pretty good game. He had one of his better games, but you thought, with the Giants, with their pass rush, they were obviously helped out that Abdul Carter was held out for the first quarter for a coach's decision or viewing stuff on his phone, depending on what you believe on the internet.
Is that real?
I don't know. But
I thought that was a joke. All right.
I thought it was a joke too. That's why I didn't retweet it before the game. And then all of a sudden he was out for the first quarter. So, who knows? Abdul Carter was a guy that I've been saying back. I heard a lot of things about him at the Senior Bowl last year, about a lot of character red flags with that guy. But anyways, you thought with their pass rush, they still have Brian Burns. Dexter Lawrence was back in the middle, even though I didn't notice him at all in this game. The two new guys on the offensive line, Garrett Bradbury showed up questionable with an illness today, but out and played. You thought that Drake Maye could get, maybe he certainly had a built-in excuse to not be quite on his game, but he wasn't. He was utterly in command from start to finish. It just every week, seemingly, it looks easier for this kid. And I asked Mike Vrabel in the press conference about Maye, and his comments were about as close as you're going to get to Mike Vrabel, really praising his young quarterback and being like, yeah, that guy's pretty damn good. And he was pretty damn good tonight. Coupled with what Matthew Stafford did on Sunday, with Drake with this national televised showcase game and how effortlessly he picked apart the Giants. He seems to definitely be the MVP frontrunner with 4 games to go. And, the sky's the limits for this kid.
It is interesting because we talk about it all the time. It almost gets boring because we're saying the same things kind of week in, week out, even on the broadcast. And again, you figure national televised game, maybe, there'd be this is kind of our first look at this guy. And wow, he's good. But you keep saying the same things over and over again. And the two things that stand out the most when assessing Drake Maye's performance are everything is slow. He makes difficult things look really easy.
Yep.
And so it almost comes off as unimpressive because he's not Caleb Williams out there just freaking out and dancing around and doing these crazy things and then throwing 100 miles an hour, into tight windows. It's just easy, and everything seems to move really slowly for him. And this was another example of it. When there was pressure, he manipulated the pocket, was able to step up in it. It seemed that he chose his spots wisely when he would run. Completely the opposite of what we saw from Jackson Dart, who's consistently putting himself in harm's way. But again, it's like the analysis from everybody who's calling a game, and a lot of these guys seeing him for the first time, it's like he's playing like a guy way beyond his years, more like a 7 or 8 year veteran as opposed to a guy in his second season. So it is still amazing because, again, progress isn't necessarily linear, but you really do feel like you're just barely scratching the surface of what he's able to do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and what's amazing is that, just think back where we were 13 weeks ago or 14 weeks ago after the week 1 game, where he looked, really skittish and sped up and uncomfortable. And, I remember some people, on Twitter saying to me, he's not the guy, or, we might have to go back into the draft, or, the too much on his plate, and Josh McDaniels isn't the right fit for him and all that stuff. And now you look at him and he looks like he's been in this system for 5 years. He makes it look easy. And this stuff is not easy. Even what was really impressive to me, especially down the stretch, sort of in the second half, where the Giants were getting a little bit more desperate. They're sending pressure. There's unblocked guys. Drake has to understand that in this system. He understood it. He was getting rid of the ball often with completions, not taking a big hit. This stuff just isn't. He makes it look normal and easy, and it's not. And to think that he's there not even a year into this system is just it's really mind-boggling. It blows me away. It's hard to quantify it every week, but it's just it is like the same. You want to say it's the same thing, but he gets better in different ways every single week. And I think how he's handling pressure. There were some free rushers against the Bengals that gave them difficulties. He took some shots, took some quarterback hits, but of course he goes into the film, makes the corrections, and then he comes out and the same thing happens in this game and he avoids it. So just, kudos to him, Josh McDaniels, Ashton Davis, all those guys. And also, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but just, the plan and the execution with Vidarian Lowe and Ben Brown out there was just top notch. It really was.
Yeah. So, and that's where I was going to go next. The protection was outrageously good, considering what you had to deal with right now. And again, everyone watching the game probably knows, but you're without Will Campbell, you're without Jared Wilson, and then Garrett Bradbury pops up on the injury report. They have to elevate a practice squad player, so you don't know what kind of game you're going to get out of him. They held up extremely well, particularly on the interior. Do you remember hearing Vidarian Lowe's name called a single time in this one?
No, and the thing was that there was a pressure early where Maye got outside the pocket and just threw it away, which you're seeing. He slid down inbounds to keep the clock running towards the end, ran out of bounds a couple times, picked up a first down, throws that ball away. Again, areas where he's getting better. That one where he threw it away, there was pressure, and I'm sure some people look at it as, well, Vidarian Lowe gave up a pressure. No, it was actually there was an unblocked rusher coming from the other side. That caused Maye to get a little bit deep and escape the pocket and get out. I'm sure he had a couple of tough reps, but for a while, it kind of hurt that Abdul Carter wasn't out there, but I was charting sort of the different ways that Josh McDaniels was changing his pitches. And, I was surprised, especially for the first quarter or so, they weren't giving him a ton of help. A lot of times he was one-on-one and he held his own, and it's a credit to him, but of course there was a really good plan all the way around. They lined up a tight end on his side a lot, not often in the protection, but just to make Brian Burns get outside a little bit more. It was all very effective, and the Patriots just kept rolling.
You mean Abdul Carter and all of his 0.5 sacks on the season weren't out there?
Hey, come on. He's had a lot of pressure and a pretty good pressure rate this year. He's actually I think he was fourth. He had the fourth quickest pressure rate, rush to pressure rate in the league. And, I think top 10 going back to 2004. So
at Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. You see that offer on the screen, and it's pretty easy. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy to get in on the action. You download the Prize Picks app, use code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. And again, you see it right there. Less, more. Always pick more. It's not fun picking less. On any players, 2 to 6 player stat projections, you can stack them, meaning you could take Drake Maye more on pass yards or TDs or whatever have it. As long as you pick someone else on another team, you're okay. And that's always fun to do if you think a player is going to roll. Mix and match sports doesn't really matter. I like to focus in on one game or one block of games, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, but it doesn't matter. Basketball, hockey, whatever you want to do. Lots of cool things on the site as well, like free squares that you can insert into your lineups and give you much better chance to make your money. So once again, you see it on the screen. Download that app, code CLNS. Get 50 in your lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. In addition to all of that, you do have flex play. You can cash out early with an imperfect lineup. You get injury reboots. Somebody gets hurt in the first half of a game. You can, it's taken off the board. You're covered. They always pay. It's a super easy to use app. Can't go wrong with Prize Picks. As I said, #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
He's pretty good. It's not all about sacks. That.
It's not. Well, it's fun to crap on him. But really part of it is a bit of a victory lap. Patriots fans might be taking about the draft, which was, and again, you think about where they were a year ago, giving up the potential #1 overall pick. This is where they were less than 1 year ago. And everything that entailed, losing the ability to trade out of that spot and whatever you could get off of it. losing a shot at Abdul Carter at number 2 or Travis Hunter, and how disappointed everyone was with that. And you end up with Will Campbell. At the end of the day, it's almost like the second year in a row falling into your draft slot instead of getting what you thought you wanted, because you could have been number 1 overall and ended up with Caleb Williams, who I'm convinced the Patriots would have taken, even though they said they love Drake Maye. And now you end up with Campbell here, and you see Carter now the second time in 3 games he's been benched to start a game because of some weird attitude issues. Yep. Travis Hunter, a real mixed bag of a season there. Did the Patriots luck into their situation by ending up with Campbell at 4 the way that they did?
I don't know. I think, not to sound like Mike Vrabel with this, but anyways, I think that if the Patriots had been higher, I think they would have probably traded out of the pick, maybe got down a little bit lower, and they might have been able to get Will Campbell in any event. I don't think Abdul Carter would have been their type of guy. I think they would have passed on him. I think Travis Hunter would have definitely been a consideration for them, and I would have loved to have seen him go to a team with a real plan to give him, one way or the other. I would have just made him a wide receiver. I think he's, that special of a talent. But I think the Patriots feel pretty good about where they are. And Will Campbell has completely fit in, and he'll be one of the leaders as sort of their free agent class ages out, along with, Drake Maye and others, to be one of the future leaders of this team.
Yeah, I agree. They probably trade down out of that spot, but it would have been interesting scenario had it gone a different way here. Another person hard to not talk about, second week in a row, Marcus Jones has made a huge game-changing play. The pick 6 of Joe Flacco after Maye had thrown one of his own last week against the Bengals, and then 94 yards here for a touchdown. And pretty much 3 things might have happened tonight. Drake Maye might have taken the lead in the MVP vote. Mike Vrabel might have clinched Coach of the Year, and I think Marcus Jones got himself another All-Pro nod.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was terrific. There were a bunch of guys who stood out. I mean, I think, you can also say, Christian Ellis with those 2 hits certainly brought a level of physicality. Carlton Davis had some good plays. Christian Gonzalez did. Corey Durden in the middle did a really nice job. Hunter Henry was invaluable to Drake Maye in this game and left wide open by the Giants a few times. You don't get to 11-2 without a bunch of contributions, and they really do. They get them from, all over the place. And, even Kyle Williams getting on the board with that touchdown, that was really great to see. Yeah.
I'm going to say, by the way, I think Kyle Williams' knee was out of bounds on that one.
I didn't think that was a catch either. I thought they gave him the first foot. I would disagree with that, but they didn't even go and look at it. They just confirmed
first
it
foot,
wrong.
And then the knee hit out of bounds before the second foot hit. Also, he's a little bit clappy with his hands, huh? In terms of he didn't really have a good grip on that one. But again, great ball by Maye, and again, a turning point in the game itself for sure. Other thing we wanted to talk about, Greg, you mentioned the pass protection. Also talking about McDaniels and how he schemed it up for this one. I know you were high on that. What did the Patriots do offensively to make up for, some of the things that they had going into this game that were not going in their favor with the guys being out?
I think it was the normal stuff from McDaniels, the stuff that you expect because, he's really good at his job. I mean, and it's in coordination with Drake Maye. He has to understand it too. He has to understand all right, well, Vidarian Lowe's going to be one-on-one on this snap, so I got to get it out. They mixed it up between, quick passes, lining up the tight end, a running back chip here and there, running at, Brian Burns and other things. I will say, the Abdul Carter thing kind of made it moot because you're, expecting the 2 guys off the edge. And Abdul Carter ended up making some plays. Ben Brown tackled him for a what looked like was going to be a big holding. But, of course, Drake Maye completion on the next one, gets a bunch of yards back, then hits the touchdown. I think that was the sequence. But, yeah, we also have to talk about, the Giants, like you mentioned at the top, I mean, the 4th and 1 decision was just coaching incompetence. I mean, if Mike Kapka's, they kept talking about how he's auditioning for the job. I mean,
oh my God,
what a clown show. I mean, it's 4th and 1 at the 40. You have a chance before halftime to do something. You get the ball to start, even if you get a field goal there, and then you get the ball to start the second half, like you can make it a game again. And to do that, and then they come out on the first drive of the third quarter and go for it on 4th and 6 and don't get it. So
and then with 8 minutes left, granted they're deep in their own territory, they don't go for it on 4th and 8. Like, I didn't understand any of that decision making on that part. But again, the Giants are a total clown show. Also, you had Burns on the sideline during halftime. Someone had taken a screen grab of it and posted it on social media while everyone else was in the locker room. He's like, I have no interest in hearing what those guys have to say. So it's a total clown show over there. I guess the biggest story that's going to come out of this, and we ask ourselves every single week here, is, the Patriots keep winning, and it's impossible to ignore how bad the competition is. So it's really hard to gauge, well, who are they? And how good are they? But you look around the rest of the league, particularly the AFC, even you mentioned the Rams stumbled to Carolina, who the Patriots thrashed. All you can do is look at what everyone else is doing against some of your common opponents or against just not great opponents themselves and say, I don't know that anybody here is a runaway favorite or is a team that has fewer flaws than the Patriots have. I think one thing you might be able to say about the Patriots, Greg, is they're not perfect, but they don't have one fatal flaw that'll be like, well, that's the thing that's going to be impossible for them to get past once they end up playing a good team. They're pretty good at a few things, really good at some other things, but they're not dead. They're not running the ball great. They're not in the red zone. But again, look at the Colts, look at the Broncos. Like, who are you afraid of right now, or who has an edge over them in terms of how they're playing in the AFC right now?
Yeah, nobody. Everybody has flaws. I think the Patriots have a big advantage where I think their coaching staff is able to minimize any flaws. I mean, look, they're not perfect, and if they do eventually lose, it's going to be things like not cashing in the red zone and goal to goal, and leaking a little bit in the running game, and not being good in the red zone defensively. Maybe turnovers rear their ugly head. Somebody with the ability to play man coverage against them and sort of smother the wide receivers while keeping, Maye in the pocket. It's those types of things. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the Patriots have as good a chance as anybody. You might say their coaching, gives them a leg up. But a lot of our answers, or answers to questions that we have about this team and their standing, and they haven't been tested. They have Buffalo and Baltimore coming out of the bye week. And, those are going to be tough spots. The Bills are going to come ready to play. That. And then the Ravens, even though Lamar doesn't look right, you're probably going to have to go there at night, or at least, a 4:25 game. I assume that game's going to get flexed. And so that's going to be, the Ravens need to win a lot of games to make the playoffs. So those are going to be great tests. And so we're going to get a lot of answers. You're right. I mean, the good thing is that I think the Patriots, we talked about the Giants being spunky over the last month, but it's your job to make a 2-10 team look 2-10. And the Patriots came out, jumped on them, sort of took the life out of the Giants, and then it was pretty much over from there on out.
Well, looking at the playoff picture, and again, I am curious your thoughts. The teams at the top here, and again, Baltimore is hanging on to the last division lead. Are you expecting when it gets to the playoffs that the cream is going to rise to the top? And again, we don't know if the Chiefs are going to make it, but if you're looking at this, and I've got it up on the screen, the Patriots, Denver, Jacksonville in there. Indianapolis now falls, into the wild card slot before they were, leading that division. Of those teams, you got the Chargers, but they've got some problems too all over the offensive line. Do you think it's going to be the old guard that's going to present the biggest challenge, and that would be Baltimore, Buffalo, and Kansas City, as still the toughest teams that the Patriots not only will face the rest of the regular season that they might encounter in the playoffs?
It depends where you play Denver. I mean, Denver and Houston, those defenses are going to make pretty much any game you play against them a rock fight. So it's going to come down to, a handful of big plays. Who's going to make it? I don't have a ton of confidence in Stroud, also Bo Nix. But I'm not. I've seen too much in this league to rule out the Chiefs, and the Ravens from making a real run at this thing.
All right. Well, I hate to ask this 11-2 going into the bye, and another impressive win tonight, but anything you didn't like tonight, Greg?
Behringer shanked a punt. I didn't like that. Yep. I thought Trayvon Henderson, until that last drive where he got a couple of big runs, I didn't think it was very good. At one point, he had 10 touchers for 46 yards, and he got
running into people.
Pass protection.
Yep.
Yeah, he was running into people again. He got tossed aside in pass protection. That led to a sack of Drake Maye. There were a couple. Ben Brown's holding penalty. Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
Yeah,
not a whole lot. And they not able to score on that first drive with the red zone. Again, slightly annoying, but again, it's not the end of the world. Not a whole lot. Lot to like today. Patriots roll 33-15 over the New York Giants, improved to 11-2. We're going to let Greg go. We want to let you guys know before we do, make sure you subscribe to Greg's podcast, the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast. You can find that right here on the CLNS Media Network, but also subscribe to Boston Sports Journal, $7 a month or $50 for the entire year. Best Boston sports coverage in town. Make sure you subscribe to that today. Mike Giardi, Greg Bedard covering the Patriots for you. So please check that out. $7 a month or $50 a year. Greg, thanks a lot. We're going to say bye to you, and we're going to bring on Taylor and Mike in just a second.
Sounds good. Thanks.